honorable guests, Dr. J. Prospero Popoy de Vera III, CHED Chairperson, our Honorable Congressman Ron J. Salo, Gabayan Party List Representative, Dr. Manuel M. Muhid, President, other university official, faculty member, and partner university, and also students who are attending with us via Zoom and Facebook Live. Good morning, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be your moderator for today's webinar. I'm Professor Jane S. Pulma, and on behalf of the organizer, we would like to extend a warm welcome to you all. We appreciate you taking your time off for joining us on the person of the Portent Park series webinar dubbed as C2C or Career to College. We hope you learn a lot for today, and we have lined up a fruitful and engaging. We have invited speakers to share their best knowledge in the outside and real world to guide you after graduation at it is designed for the student in their career path to help them succeed in the future. So let me remind the participant on our webinar for today. Proper decorum should be observed all the time. This webinar is recorded. Please keep your microphone on mute to avoid any disruption. If you have any question, please use the chat box located at the right portion, and please type your question and comment at the chat box. However, please note that the question will be entertained only during the open forum. After all the speaker have finished their presentation. May I please invite everyone to invoke the Almighty to be led by Bishop Paul P. Hernandez. May I request everyone to stand for the invocation and the national anthem.
Second Timothy chapter 2 verse 15 says, "Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth." On behalf of Congressman Ron Salo and Kabayan Party List, let us all come to the Lord in prayer. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we honor you. We thank you for this wonderful event. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the participants. Salamat, Panginoon, sa lahat ng mga speakers. Thank you for our dear Congressman Ron Salo and Kabayan Party List and all the students represented by different colleges and universities. We believe, Heavenly Father, that you have something very good and wonderful you have stored to each one of us. We pray, Heavenly Father, that you guide this wonderful webinar. We praise you for what you are doing, for what you are about to teach each one of the listeners and even the speakers. I pray, Heavenly Father, for wisdom as they share the things that they know, their experiences, especially sa lahat ng mga nakikinig, at naniniwala kami na ito ay magiging fruitful sa lahat po ng endeavors ng mga nakikinig sa hapong ito. We honor you, we thank you, and we entrust to you everything sa webinar na ito. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
To begin this program, it is my pleasure to introduce you a great man from the Commission on Higher Education for the opening remarks. He is a graduate of a Doctor in Public Administration from the University of the Philippines, a Masters of Arts in Social Science from De La Salle University, Bachelor of Arts in University of the Philippines, and he was being awarded as by the provincial government of Pangasinan as the most outstanding Pangasinense in 2014. He brings with him his extensive experience in the Philippine government as he served as the Technical Assistant, Chief of Staff, Senior Consultant, Senior Advisor to the former Senate President Aquilino Pimentel Jr., Senate President Pro Contemporary Sotero Laurel, Leticia Ramos Shahani, and Juan Flavier, and also Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr. and Gregorio Onasan. He also worked as a policy analyst with the Committee on Revenue and Taxation of the California State Legislature in the United States. He held a position as Vice President for Public Affairs of the University of the Philippines, Director of the 2 INSIPAG Center, Officer in Charge, and Commissioner of the Higher Education. He is a Fulbright visiting scholar of the University of Southern California and California State University, Sacramento, and Senior Fulbright visiting professor, fellow of the Johns Hopkins University. He's currently on the second month as chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education. Without any further ado, please let's welcome Chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education, Dr. J. Prospero Popoy de Vera III.
Professor Jane. Professor Jane, I understand the chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education will be joining us shortly. So with that, perhaps you may first introduce me.
Okay, sir. Okay, so Congressman Salo is a Filipino lawyer and a politician. He is currently serving as a congressman who won the nominee of the Kabalikat ng Mamamayan or Kabayan Party List in 2016 and 2019 election. He served as congressman. He graduated cum laude with a degree of psychology from the University of the Philippines, Masters of Law, major in international law with the merit as a British Chevening scholar at the University College London. He also holds a doctorate degree in education. So please let's welcome our honorable, the brain of this program, Honorable Congressman Ron P. Salo.
Hello, Kong Ron. Nakamute ka.
Kong Ron, nakamute ka po.
Thank you very much. Apologies for that. Thank you very much, Professor Jane, for your kind introduction. This webinar was conceptualized and designed to empower all our graduates, both college and senior high school students, to carefully choose which sector or industry they wish to join in order to increase their chances of success and to equip them with the tools and skills in order to thrive in their chosen careers. Ultimately, however, this webinar aims to democratize knowledge and information on career options to our graduating students. A number of universities, specifically their respective career offices, conduct seminars and webinars to guide their students, but not all higher education institutions and senior high schools do. May mga ilang seminars at webinars na ginagawa ang mga pribadong sektor ng layunin ay bigyan ng tamang gabay ang mga mag-aaral at paano nila mapapatas ang kailang tsansang tanggapin sa ina-applyan nilang trabaho. Kaya lang, dahil hindi libre ang mga estudyante lang na may kakayanang magbayad na nagkakaroon ng pagkakataon na makatanggap ng payo mula sa mga eksperto. Ang dami po nagtatanong kung libre ang ating webinar ngayon. Alam kasi nila na ang mga ganitong klaseng webinar ay may bayad at kadalasan ay mahal. Kaya ang sagot natin ay oo, libre ito. Wala itong bayad. Ang kailangan lang ay buksan ang inyong gadget o cellphone at maglaan ng konting oras para manood at makinig. This is our way of leveling the playing field among our students, both from public and private. As not all universities, colleges, and high schools have the same quality of education, as this is influenced by a lot of factors, we aim that on matters of career options and advice, students who are willing to listen and to develop themselves further will be able to receive the same pieces of expert advice. The aims of this webinar are aligned with advocacies of Kabayan Party List, which I represent in Congress, of empowering our people to develop their capacity for critical thinking, to hone their competencies on various fields, and to build up their character as a person, which we refer to as thesis of education. Tunay nga na kailangan ng bawat Pilipino, lalo na ng ating mga mag-aaral, na magkaroon ng kakayanan na tasain ng mas malalim ang mga bagay-bagay, linangin ang kanyang kasanayan sa iba't ibang larangan, at pagbutihin ang kanyang karakter bilang individual. Ito ang susi sa mas matiwasay na buhay, maunlad na kinabukasan, at maayos na lipunan. Taos-puso pong pinapasalamatan ng ating makapartner na mga organisasyon at institusyon, ang Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines Incorporated o CAFPI, Polytechnic University of the Philippines na siya man nating main co-host ngayon, at kay PUP President Dr. Manuel M. Muhi, Cavite State University, Cebu Normal University, Eulogio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology at Tarlac State University. Pinasasalamatan din natin ang Ateneo De Zamboanga University, Rizal Technological University at iba pang universidad kolehiyo na kalahok sa ating webinar. Thank you also to Chair J. Prospero E. De Vera III for the memorandum he issued to all presidents or heads or officers in charge of higher education institutions, inviting all your graduating students to attend any of our 14-part webinar series. Your memorandum is a testament of your unwavering support to the welfare of our students, including their careers. Thank you also to DepEd Office of Undersecretary Elaine Pasqua, Undersecretary for Administration through the Bureau of Learner Support Services Youth Formation Division, and also to Dr. Tirso Irungkilio, Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges President. Salamat din sa 7 radio stations na kasalukuyan nagla-livestream ng ating webinar. Ang The Big C Radio, 106.1 Star Radio, dahil naka-Star Radio ka, idol kita, 101.3 One Radio, Basta One Radio, Good Vibes, 104.5 JYVE FM, Thunder FM, Dateline, Mindanao News Express at DZRD 981 Dagupan. At syempre sa masisipag na membro ng project team sa likod nito. At higit sa lahat syempre sa ating Diyos na niloob po niya na tayo magkaroon ng webinar ngayon. Sa lahat ng ating mga mag-aaral na nasa Zoom at nanonood sa FB Live, mga guro at profesor, at sa mga magagaling nating speakers, magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Sama-sama tayong matuto sa ating webinar. Muli, maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Salo, para sa inyong inspiring message, and on behalf of the student participants and attendees, we would like to say arigato gozaimashita, or thank you. Thank you for being the brain of this initiative. Thank you for helping the Filipino youth in achieving their goal and landing on their jobs, on their dream jobs. So we would like also to extend our gratitude to our partners for the success of their events. The Commission on Higher Education, the Chevening Alumni of the Philippines Foundation, Office of Congressman Ron Salo, Department of Education, Tayo Youth Program, the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Cebu Normal University, Eugenio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, Cavite State University, and Tarlac State University. This 14-part series webinar is designed to guide a student in their career path. It's a result of initiatives of the Office of Congressman Salo and the 5 University. So today's webinar will be delivered by the 3 successful men in the field of their specialization in their career of choice, leading to one topic, the ultimate guide to job hunting, marketing oneself effectively. The topic will be discussed for today's seminar is writing an application letter or resume preparation, recruitment trends and tips on how to create your virtual presence in the LinkedIn, and acing in the job interview. So please be reminded that the question will only be entertained after the speaker will finish their presentation. However, participants may type their question in the chat box anytime during the presentation. Please also be reminded that on May 18, we'll be commemorating the National Higher Education Day to celebrate the founding anniversary of the Commission on Higher Education, as per President Duterte signed this Republic Act. So again, Congressman Salo, thank you for being the brain of this initiative. So without any further ado, let me introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is a graduate of the Philippine Military Academy in 1993. He has studied various education institutions such as University of Nottingham, under the prestigious Chevening program, Yale School of Management, Melbourne Business School, and Asian Institute of Management. He is also a graduate of Advanced Management Program at IESE Business School and the University of Navarra and Barcelona, Spain. He is currently a part of the first SGB MAP Next Gen CIO Transformative Leadership Program, a 12-man program with a high-performing new future CEO below 50 years old. He dedicated the past 2 decades of his professional life to developing and implementing a transformational program, both macro and enterprise level. He worked as a corporate governance advocate and regulator. Sabi niya kahapon, ang best description that I can describe him is he is a father of a graduating student. Sabi niya, this is the only qualification that I can only read and I was allowed to read because siguro makaka-relate lahat tayo sa kanya. So without any further ado, please I would like to present to you our first speaker, the man behind the Metro Retail Store Group Incorporation, Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Jonathan Juan JJ DC Moreno. The floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Professor Jane. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And to all of those listening and watching this afternoon, magandang hapon po. O katong mga nasa Kabisayan, maayong hapon kaninyong tanan. So if I may be allowed to share my slide. As I told Professor Jane yesterday, my only qualification is the fact that I am a father of a graduating student who is going through perhaps the same things that you all are going through. So kung sa mga Bisaya pa naglisod sad siya, no? It's also a challenging part of his phase of his career, no? So allow me to see. Can you see my screen? Can
Yes,
I
sir.
see
Yes,
a
sir.
thumbs up if you can see my screen? Okay, I do have about 20 minutes to make this presentation, and it is designed to be very brief, owing to the fact that I do have certain principles in terms of, meeting and speaking. So the first principle in my meetings is that if it could be sent through an email, a meeting is not necessary. In presentations is that if it could be Googled, a long presentation also is not necessary. So what I would like to do right now is just to focus on a couple of slides by way of introducing these concepts to you. No? All right, so introduction. Before anything else, I just would like to congratulate all of you. Owing to the fact that you probably are graduating in a couple of weeks or a month or so, congratulations to you, to your parents, and to those who were part of this modest success that you have. After that congratulations, then comes the mixed feelings of joy, relief, I suppose pride, excitement, and possibly even anxiety or self-doubt. No, the question of really what happens next now that we are finished, now that we're done, we're about to be done in this phase in our lives. How then are we going to live the next phase of our life? So what happens next? I would like to imagine that all of you would like to engage in something meaningful. Wala naman ho siguro dito sabing, okay, graduate na ako, pwede na tayong pabanjing-banjing, no? I hope not. The fact that you are attending this webinar believes that you want to get something out of it and something meaningful. No? You actually, so there are really three things that we would need to do, and I would like to ask you to do as well, which is first to define your objective, plan, and take action. Ako po ay dating military. Pag binuksan niyo po yung dibdib ko, puso pa rin po ng military ang tumitibok dito. Kaya it's second nature to me to have a bit of a structure. So pinapaabot ko rin po sa inyo ito. No? First, to define the objective. Pagkatapos paplano tayo, tapos we will act. So ganito po lagi tayo. No? So dapat klaro lang, hindi din pabara-bara, hindi din pwedeng action lang kaagad, no? Hindi pwede, dapat may konting plano, dapat klaro din tayo, no? So in terms of step 1, define your objective. Importante po talaga kung ano ang objective natin as we graduate from college, and some of you actually graduating from high school as well, no? For those graduating in college, there are two options you have. To be self-employed, magnegosyo po kayo, option po yun, no? To be self-employed, you work for a family business, pwede rin po yun. Or to be employed. This presentation is dedicated primarily to those who want to be employed. No? Marami po tayong objectives. Bakit gusto nating maging empleyado? Bakit gusto nating magkatrabaho? Tumulong sa mga magulang, sa mga siblings, magbayad ng utang, mga obligasyon natin, magkaroon ng sariling pera, gain financial independence. May gusto tayong bilhin, no? Property, sasakyan, ano man 'yon. Gusto na nating ma-apply ang ating natutunan, no? Yung the knowledge that we gain, the craft that we have, to realize a dream. Marami po diyan gustong maging inhinyero, gustong maging sundalo. Ako naman konting plug lang. Baka gusto niyo rin po, pwede pong pumasok sa pagsusundalo, no? Self-worth, self-worth to self-actualization, yung para sa atin na rin sarili, no? All told, there are more or less 3 types of goals that one would have in search for employment. May financial goal tayo, may professional goal tayo, may personal goal tayo. Before I proceed I just would like to say that like many of you, ako po ay isang probinsyano din. No? Kaya ako'y natutuwa, nakita ko kanina yung mga taga Cebu, may Cebu Normal College. I actually grew up not too far away from Cebu Normal College. Prom di po ako. Kaya nga nung nakita ko sarili ko minsan, nag-aral po ako sa Yale, nag-aral po ako sa Europa at sa Australia. Minsan hindi ako makapaniwala. Ako po ay product din ng state school, state system. Science high school po ako. So posible po yun. Pwede pong mangarap. Magsikap nga lang talaga. So, itong nagsasalita sa harap nyo ngayon ay isang probinsyano po at makinig kayo. Marami sa inyo ang probinsyano rin. At pwede rin marating kung ano mang, ito yung narating ko. Wala akong sinasabing mataas na narating ko, pero may konting narating, no? Ito isang konsepto na gusto kong ipaabot sa inyo lahat, no? Yung konsepto, siguro iilan sa inyo o karamihan sa inyo narinig na ito. Itong konsepto ng ikigai. Ito po importante. If there's one thing that you want to take away from this presentation is the concept of ikigai. It is a Japanese concept of having a direction or purpose in life, no? Ito po yung first, doing what you love. Ano po yung gusto nyong gawin? Doing what you are good at. Ano kung magaling kayo, kung saan kayo magaling. Ang combination po niyan ay yan yung passion. Doing what you love and what you're good at, passion po yun. And then what you are paid for. Yung binabayaran kayo, profession po yun. Magaling ka, binabayaran kaya po yung profession mo. doing what the world needs. Huwag po natin kalimutan ang bansa at ang mundo, no? Ang combination po niyan ay bokasyon. You're paid for it, and the world, what the world needs, and what the world needs and what you love is your mission. Ito po yung magandang konsepto na gusto kong ipaabot sa inyo, no? The concept of an ikigai, no? So may mga blank spots din dito. So for example, you have satisfaction but a feeling of uselessness kung hindi po may ginagawa niyo yung gusto niyo, kung magaling kayo at binabayaran kayo, pero hindi naman po nakakatulong sa nakakarami. So parang kulang pa rin, useful ka, no? Ito naman, ginagawa mo yung magaling ka, binabayaran ka, anong nakakatulong sa pinakamarami, pero hindi mo naman gusto, hindi mo naman mahal, komportable lang, pero emptiness ang feeling nito. Ito naman yung ginagawa mo yung kailangan ng mundo, at magaling ka, binabayaran ka, pero hindi ka naman magaling, so uncertainty yan kasi hindi ka talaga magaling doon, and so on and so forth, no? So ang gusto ko lang is hindi ho lahat ay binayayaan, no? Ito po ay pasensya na kayo, ako'y Bisaya, hirap na hirap magtagalog, no? So what we're trying to do here, what I'm trying to impart on you, if there is anything that you would like to take out of this presentation, is the concept of doing what you love, doing what you're good at, doing what you're paid for, and doing what the world needs. Ito ang magkukumpleto sa inyo. Sa umpisa ho, hindi nyo ho makukuha lahat yan. So now, by presenting this, you would want to aspire for all of this. Ang iba nga, they are already late in their career, hindi pa rin ho sila nakukumpleto. Hindi pa rin nila ito nakukumpleto. So ito po yung gusto natin, gusto ko sanang maging purpose ninyo na you aim for this, no? The ikigai. So, plano. Ito po, again, dito sa military, no? So, una, develop a long list based on your objective and interest. So, klaro na tayo sa objective natin, klaro na tayo sa interest natin, may naisip tayong ikigai, gumawa po kayo ng long list. Sabi ko nga sa anak ko, 100 companies, applyan mo. Tapos, you start ranking it. Tapos, intindihin mo yung industry dynamics. Ano ba yung labor supply versus demand? Ano bang may kailangan ba dito? May demand ba dito? May supply ba dyan? No? So, and then, reflect on what you have accomplished. Pag-isipan nyo, may internships ba kayo, mga OJTs ninyo, mga organizations that you were part of, volunteer work, tingnan nyo, kasi lahat po yun pwedeng maidagdag sa kwento nyo. And then, you then assess your credentials, and then your job opportunities against the job opportunities. And then you start building your CV. The next few slides po, I will browse through very quickly kasi ito po yung part na pwede nyo pong mag-google, no? I just walk you through it, no? So, in terms of content of your resume, of course, meron mga roles and responsibilities, no? Tailored to each particular job. Ito lang po yung takeaway dito. Dapat pag gumawa po kayo ng CV, yes, you have a basic version of your CV, but talaga pong pagtiyagaan nyo pong i-tailor fit dun sa job description na ina-applyan ninyo. Skills. Include only those relevant skills that you gain and then give some examples, listing those. Hindi lang yung ilista mo yung skills, magaling ako sa ganito. Give some examples also. And then your experience. Ensure that the consistency and relevance of your experience. Again, I mentioned about internships, OJTs, org work. Yung pong, nung mag-college yung mga anak ko, sabi ko kagad sa kanila bago silang first year college, you know, yung college nyo talaga, pag-isipan nyo ng mabuti kasi gumawa ka ng org work, okay, kung magandang grado nyo, maganda. So, pero dapat kumpletuhin nyo yung experience nyo. No? And then, also in your experience, be very clear of where you added value. Paano po kayo nag-contribute? How did you add value, no, to that particular job or under that role, no? And then make sure that you you show results. Results should be quantifiable, no? Make sure you state your targets clearly and demonstrate how you achieved and highlight quantifiable results. And then, of course, your education, your education, your certificates, mga programs that you have. And then some other personal information. Dapat kumpleto, no? And then other special skills, no? Again, yung relevant lang naman dun sa trabaho. Keep in mind that layout is clear and consistent. Punta po kayo sa online, marami pong mga templates doon. You use that template, no? And then use bullet points. Wag gumawa ng ano kasi bago pa lang 6 pages na kagad yung resume nyo, walang magbabasa po noon. 1 or 2 pages will do. Very important, check for spelling or grammar errors. Mahirap po yung nag-a-apply kayo tapos wrong spelling or wrong grammar, no? It says a lot about you and your diligence. Ensure that it runs reversed chronological order. Yung pinakabago po yung nandun sa pinakaharap para makita nila. No unexplained gaps or inconsistencies. Kung meron pong ilan sa iyo tumigil ng 1 taon or ano, gawin niyo po, you explain that, anong ginawa niyo that time. Nagkasakit ba kayo o may ginawa kayong iba? Include important keywords. Tingnan niyo po yung job description tapos kunin niyo po yung ibang keywords doon, ilagay niyo doon. Basta dapat totoo, no? Avoid excessive jargon. Format should allow recipient to easily open the file. Sorry for the typo. File name should include your name. Dapat po doon yung pangalan niyo para pag sinave ng HR yan, dapat nandiyo yung pangalan niyo. Then of course, keep your file under 1 MB. Basically tell a story about yourself, no? And then take action. You go for it. Establish online presence. LinkedIn, somebody will talk to you about that later on, one of the speakers. Very important, ensure you have a clean digital footprint. Yung mga posts nyo po na hindi ka nais-nais, tanggalin nyo na ho. Google nyo yung sarili nyo, linisin nyo yung online footprint nyo. Very important. Kasi HR is looking at that as well. Find jobs by checking job vacancies, recruitments, and so on and so forth. Marami tayong sources for that. Talk to someone, talk to people, your titos, titas, or your teachers. Then write a compelling cover letter. Importante po yung cover letter. Why you're interested in the job, how your skills and experience match the job, and why should they read your CV. Then your character references also. Choose them well. And then prepare well for tests and interviews. Okay? So now I'm down to my last 2 slides, which is not moving for some reason. Okay, let me see. Concluding thoughts. I would like to share with you a letter that I sent to my son. His name is Nino. No, he's the guy who's graduating in a few weeks. And then I wrote this to him in 2017 as a father writing to a son who's entered college. So I said, Nino, how you conduct yourself in college will define how you will do in life. So that one, graduate studies should be on your horizon. Grades will always be important, but nothing beats honest and hard work. Okay, let me see. Just a few more minutes. Be nice. Say please, sorry, thank you at every opportunity. There will always be difficult and unreasonable people. Don't let them get into you. Huwag mapikon. Help others always. Cooperate. Be a good friend. Try. Don't be afraid to fail. In fact, embrace failure and look at them as an opportunity to learn. Be significant. Aim for purpose over comfort. I always tell him, success, significance is more important than success. You may be a citizen of the world, but don't forget, you are a Filipino. Huwag kalimutan ang bansa. Ang bansa po, we have one country, So, and finally, huwag kalimutan ng Diyos. Pray. You cannot do it alone. There will be times that things will seem to be very tough and even impossible. So I brought him in. He's now in the process of finalizing his thesis. He's very stressed. I got him in and say, look, Nino, I wrote this to you 4 years ago. What are the 5 things, and please rank them, that if you were to address yourself in the first year, what would you have paid more attention to? What's more important? So this is what he said. He said, grades will always be important, but nothing beats hard and honest work. Sabi niya, Dad, importante talaga hard and honest work. And then he said, there will always be difficult and unreasonable people. Don't let them get into you. And then the third is try, don't be afraid to fail. And then the second, pray. And then the most important one is how you conduct yourself in college will define how you do in life. So these are the things that he said he was going to tell his first year self and say, okay, these are the things you pay more attention to. Now I said, what are of these 10? What are the 3 things that you will bring with you as you leave college? Ito naman yung sabi niya. Number 3. Number 3 niya is there will always be difficult people. So sabi niya, Dad, there will always be difficult people. This advice is going to be very helpful. No? Di talaga dapat mapikon. Second, sabi niya, be significant. You know, hindi lang to pera. It's also about having a purpose. Yung ikigai nga ang sinasabi ko. And then finally, trying and not being afraid to fail. So the reason why I showed this to you is because I wanted to convey his message, because he is like you. His message through these 10 things. Now, you know, it's no longer just my message. I am the medium of his message. It's your peer talking to you that perhaps this might be the things that you would like to pay closest attention to. And then finally, in my last slide is, you know, my son has been applying for jobs already since a month or so ago. And then he has had many rejections. No, many applications, many rejections. So I'd like to show to you the tale of two rejections, the Mr. Lai and the Miss Marie. He was rejected. This is, by the way, both from a financial services, international financial services firm. This Mr. Lai rejected him in a cold, rude, demeaning, condescending, impatient, and indifferent manner. Miss Marie, however, rejected him in a warm, polite, reassuring, respectful, and patient and caring manner. The point I'm sharing this with you is, as you go through your application process, you will be rejected. No, I mean, I don't look forward that you'll be rejected, but you know, by and large, there will be rejections. And there will be two types of rejections, the Mr. Lies and the Miss Maries. We just want to prepare you that those that will reject will not always be warm, polite, and reassuring, and there would be those that will be cold, rude, and demeaning. Prepare for them, and don't let it get into you. No, so that is where I guess I will have to end. That this is really an excellent opportunity for you to look through what you have done and look forward to what you can do. And then look also, the next few speakers will really tell you they're far more interesting than I am. They will tell you more about what you need to know. No, so I'll stop here, and I will stop here by thanking the organizers, Congressman Ron Salo, Ched, and the universities participating. Maraming salamat, daghang salamat sa inyong tanan. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, daghang salamat, Sir JJ, for your informative and interactive lecture. So we have to take note, guys, that planning is the key for success. So having a concrete plan, planning for the future, knowing yourself, know your passion, your ability, your skills will take you to land to your dream job or to your right job. Okay? Our second speaker is another great man from the Metro Pacific Investment Corporation. He graduated International Studies major in European Studies and Marketing Management from De La Salle University, and currently working on his Master's in Business Administration in Ateneo Graduate School of Business. His knowledge and skills in organizational development, training, people management, product development, marketing strategy made him and land him in his past and current job in the industry. He worked as a learning development specialist, compensation and reward officer, learning and organizational capacity manager, and currently the human resource manager of the Metro Pacific Investment Corporation. Without any further ado, our second speaker, a great man, the second great man of the Metro Pacific Investment Corporation, Mr. Juan Luis Pimentel.
Okay, maraming salamat, Professor Jane, for that very generous introduction. I just want to know if everyone can hear me, if everyone can put a thumbs up kung narinig niyo ako ng maigi. Ayan. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon ulit sa ating mga tagapakinig sa Facebook. I know we are live as well as dito sa ating Zoom account. Thank you very much again for inviting me to speak on behalf of Metro Pacific, of course, but to the students as well. So if you may allow me also to share my slides. Yeah. Okay. I hope everyone can see my slides. So similar to dun sa sinabi ni Professor Jane, I'm a graduate of International Studies in Marketing Management. And siguro I will start off with that one. As an expectation to the graduating students, sometimes after natin mag-graduate, meron tayong course na tinake. And most of the time, kung ano man yung ating profession, hindi siya nagigi-align kung ano yung course na tinitake natin. And that is similar as well to other applicants na ating ina-hire currently for some of the organizations at some of the experiences as well of yung mga ating mga tao applying for certain positions. So with this topic that I would like to share with you and impart with you guys is to share with you yung current recruitment trends, especially with the situation natin ngayon with COVID-19, which greatly shaped our environment, not only sa how we do things sa business-wise, but nag-trickle down siya pati sa ating recruitment, pati sa ating pamumuhay araw-araw. And aside from that, since nagkaroon ng trend in transition where everything is now in the digital realm, lahat tayo ay nagtatransform sa digital and technology, and it's very fast. Dati mabilis na siya, ngayon mas bumilis pa. Katulad ng internet speed natin, mas bumibilis siya ngayon. So parang ganun din yung pace ng technology or pag-evolve ng technology. And with that, how do we now create virtual presence via LinkedIn? Kanina nag-share si Sir JJ ng resume on how to formulate or craft your resume. This time, I'll be showing you what is LinkedIn per se and how is it different from a usual resume. Okay, and then after that, tips as well after this, and align with that, how do you now look at your career? Kasabi nga dito sa ating topic, from college to career. Okay. So una, we'll be discussing about the future of recruitment. Again, yung COVID-19 has transformed not only the business, but the whole process of hiring itself. You can look at this, you can search this to Google or to the web, at doon marami kayong makikitang changes sa ating hiring process. Ngayon, not just here in the Philippines, but sa buong mundo, nagkaroon siya ng impact. But I'll be concising it into 4 aspects for the purpose of this presentation. Una, ang sabi nila, ang recruitment will hire less, but will build and borrow more. So ano ibig sabihin nito? Siyempre, minsan matatakot tayo kasi tayo bagong workforce. Ibig sabihin ba noon, hindi tayo ma-hire o magkakaroon tayo ng difficulty to be hired? Not necessarily. Of course, there will be positions available or open. But remember, during the fourth revolution, ang tawag nila, nung nagkaroon ng digital transformation, may mga positions na wala noon na ngayon nag-exist, like social media manager, digital specialist. Dati wala yung mga yan. Data scientist, data engineer. Before, it was non-existent. But because of the movement of technology, nagkaroon ng mga bagong transformation about new positions. Ang sinasabi natin dito, because of COVID, of course, it impacted the business. How businesses are now adjusting is that yung internal talents nila, binibuild nila yon. So meaning, there is what we call a concept of reskilling. So yung dating may skill set, ini-evolve nila yon or nag-i-introduce sila ng bagong skill set. So right now, the things that recruiters or companies, the things that they are looking for are not basically technical skills anymore, but this is what we call soft skills, or sabi nga na aking professor, fundamental or essential skills. Ito yung skills like adaptability, problem solving, as well as yung mga potential skills that they can use para ma-evolve yung kanilang work ngayon. And most of the time, nakakaroon na kasi ngayon ng hiring ng project-based. If you've heard that term project-based employment, may mga companies ngayon na there are specific projects in a specific time frame lang where they hire very or highly technical people to complete that certain project as well. So ganun yung nagiging transition and movement natin. So how will this now impact us? So one of the things that we need to remember as we go into the workforce is our attitude on how we adapt to certain things. So alam ko ngayon, it's very stressful, not just for us who are working, but also for the kids, most especially. Kasi ang hirap mag-adjust ng dati face-to-face, ngayon working ka na, nag-a-apply ka na at nag-aaral ka virtually. To be honest, it's very, I understand, mahirap siya kasi me myself am doing that in virtual learning. Pero there are benefits to it, but at the same time may challenges. So ang kailangan lang natin tandaan is how do we now introduce new skills and adapt. So if you look at mga profiles, di ba minsan sa Facebook, may nakikita ka doon na, or sa Instagram, na mother, photographer, etc. So yun yung tinatawag natin expanding your skill set. Just to share, there is a website as well, which we now call Upwork. It's a virtual website where businesses go into to search for freelance workers or field workers na specific. In my experience, dito rin ako kumukuha ng mga ibang mga project-based employment where may mga tao dito na iba-iba yung talent nila na parang self-employed sila pero they act as a consultant and they share their expertise na globally. At may isa ako dito nakausap na Pilipino which I was trying to contact him for a specific project which we want to do for our organization, na sinabi niya sa akin, ako daw ang kauna-unahan niyang employer for this project na Pilipino kasi karamihan na nakakausap niya ay mga foreigners. So I will now be jumping to the next part of the topic where sabi ng mga recruiters ngayon or globally, in terms of global trend, magkakaroon ng more diversified workforce, not just in the Philippines but globally. So sabi nila, 77% of talent professionals says that diversity will be very important to the future of recruiting. If you look at for recruiters, let's say in my example, merong feature sa LinkedIn na hindi na pinapakita yung itsura, yung profile picture, as well as yung gender. Kasi ginagawa nilang diverse yung profile ng mga taong kinukuha nila. So meaning they hire people not because of who they are, but how will they contribute to the organization? Ano ang madadala ko sa organization na to? Okay, so with this, anong impact naman ito sa atin as us going out to the workforce? We need to understand ourselves and how we fit into the bigger picture. Paano natin may lalagay yung sarili natin sa bigger picture ng mundong ito? Katulad ng sinabi ni Sir JJ kanino, anong purpose natin? Paano natin mag-sustain or to be socially responsible individuals? Yeah. So, in line with that, sabi nga natin, nagkakaroon ng changes because of the pandemic. Ang sinasabi natin ngayon is 81% ang talent professionals agree that virtual recruiting will continue post-COVID. Sabi nga nila, ang COVID-19 will last further than 2025 and may spring over more in more years because of its effect. At may bagong study din na sinasabi na may bago ng generation ngayon na tinatawag Gen Z. Kaya sa tinatawag na Gen Z, Generation COVID, kasi they were born or they were experiencing situations during the time of the COVID pandemic where kids ngayon, especially yung mga those who are in the elementary stages, yung interaction nila with peers, non-existent. Lahat sila nakikita nila virtually, which is very different to how we were before. At dahil doon, mag-shift na naman at magkakaroon na naman ng changes in terms of recruitment and employment. Not only that, on how we do things as well. So with this, ang sinasabi rin ng talent professionals, 70% are saying that virtual recruiting will become a new standard. Gone are the days when some of our apologies, pero mga baby boomers would always say na, hindi mag-work yung virtual thing. I remember the onset of COVID noong March 2020. Nagkaroon ng discussion if paano yung mga meetings, lalo na sa businesses. Kasi how will business continue during the pandemic? So at a certain point, some of course, yung mga heads na, they're very hesitant on how this will perform. Pero as time goes by, they realize that there are benefits, as well as this can be done yung virtual meetings and then transitioning to virtual recruitment. Pagkaramihan ng aming mga na-recruit ngayon, never namin silang nakita physically. Lahat sila underwent to the whole recruitment process virtually. There is what we call ngayon, ginagamit natin Zoom, merong Google Meet, may MS Teams, etc. Which goes me now to the next point. With everything transitioning virtually, ang sinasabi natin ngayon, or sinasabi ng studies ngayon, is that recruiters will lead the transition to remote work. So right now, di ba karamihan ng mga businesses is reporting at home or work from home arrangement. And ngayon, parang if you look at the internet, if you research studies as well, ang daming sinasabi, yung mga ibang businesses who are more mature, they're looking at work where it's a mixed work environment already. Na may iba, mag-work from home, but may certain days of the, may certain parts of the day or the week that they will be reporting to the office. Magtataka kayo ng mga call centers ngayon, if you apply, some of them are open to the idea na work from home yung call center. So this is true, where call center, if they hire call center agents, yung ititrain nila for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so, and then afterwards, if they're ready for deployment, sa bahay na sila gagawa ng work. So meaning lahat ng equipment, etc., ibibigay yun ng kumpanya sa inyo. But you just need to perform and function at work. So may technology na on how to check the attendance, etc. as such. So anong sinasabi natin dito? Ibig sabihin yan, with the current situation, nag-a-adapt kasi tayo as well as businesses. With the event of the pandemic, we are now transitioning to a different world. So may tinatawag di pa tayo new normal. So more or less, this will already transition ourselves to what we call the new normal. Before I proceed to LinkedIn, just to provide context sa sinasabi natin, digitization. Noong 2020, nung time ng pandemic, sabi ng data portal or other surveys as well, 96% of internet users in the Philippines are using Facebook. So meaning lahat ng internet ginagamit ang Facebook. And as of 2019, where I think the data is now more than what we have, we are almost 74 million Facebook users here in the Philippines. So that's roughly around, it was 2019, I'm assuming, alam ko ngayon, it's around 80% of the whole population of the Philippines are on Facebook. So just to share, ano yung impact din ito in terms of recruitment. I remember, di ba nagkaroon tayo ng scarcity ng nurses, especially ang RN. So naging avenue ang hiring of nurses, not just here in the Philippines, but globally as well. So yung mga nurses, upcoming graduates natin, nagkaroon sila ng opportunity to have that extensive diversity where they can apply not just sa mga hospitals, kunyari dito sa Manila, but hospitals in Japan, in UK, in Canada, in the US, especially ngayon na nandito tayo sa pandemic. So how is it now translatable to LinkedIn? So as of today, I recently, parang based on information as well, just in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, there are around 116 LinkedIn users in the Philippines. And globally, we have around more than 55 million registered companies sa LinkedIn. I'm not here to promote LinkedIn, you guys. Hindi ako part ng LinkedIn. What I'm trying to point out here is everyone is in the virtual realm, especially yung mga recruiters, etc. JobStreet is present, Monster is present, but what LinkedIn is very different because si Monster's JobStreet is a hiring platform where LinkedIn is more than that. It's actually your professional virtual profile. Similar to Facebook, this one is very different. Pero this one is how you market yourself as a professional. At the same time, nagiging avenue din to ng mga businesses on how they brand themselves as a business. So pag titingnan niyo yung LinkedIn profile, dito makikita yung mga sustainability, etc. as such. Ngayon na tayo ay mag-graduate. So Again, I'm not here to promote LinkedIn, pero if you want to increase your virtual presence, I would suggest na you do create your own profile as well via LinkedIn. So in this next slide, I'll show you, hopefully sana marinig niyo yung boses. This is just a brief snippet of how you can create a online LinkedIn profile. Sorry, naririnig niyo ba guys? Hindi. Sorry, I think I need to share it again.
Creating a LinkedIn account is pretty simple. You'll just need an email address and a few minutes of your time. Let's take a look at how it works. To get started, go to linkedin.com in your web browser. Enter your information, choose a password, and then click the Join button. LinkedIn will guide you through the steps of adding more detail to your profile. Next, you'll need to verify your email address. To do this, go to your inbox, look for the message from LinkedIn, and then click the confirmation button. You can also choose to sync the contacts list from your email account at this time. This will make it easier to find people you already know on LinkedIn, so we recommend you do this eventually. However, if you don't want to do it right now, you can just skip it. A few more screens will appear, asking for your photo and professional interests. Like with email contacts, you can skip these steps if you'd rather deal with them later. However, we encourage you to explore everything LinkedIn has to offer to ensure you're getting the most out of it. After the sign-up process, LinkedIn may ask you to upgrade to a premium account, which costs a monthly subscription fee. While the premium account provides additional features, such as more messaging options and job opening details, we've found that you can get a lot out of LinkedIn using just the free account. We recommend sticking with that one for now. Now that your account is set up, you're ready to start creating your profile and adding connections.
Okay, so thank you very much. I hope na naintindihan nyo, you were able to capture at least a brief snippet kung paano mag-create ng LinkedIn profile. It's relatively easy. Email address lang, minsan number, phone number is also required. Tapos may instructions na doon on how to do it. As mentioned dun sa video, you can search this to LinkedIn. Hindi nyo naman required mag-purchase. Kahit yung free LinkedIn access, marami ka nang magagawa doon. So this is where actually you can search for jobs. Dito nyo rin makikita yung mga profiles ng mga applications na in-applyan nyo. At dito rin kayong pwedeng maghanap ng mga kahit hindi related sa job nyo, pwede nyo siyang gamitin. So now I'll be showing you how a LinkedIn profile ideally will must look like para magkaroon kayo ng virtual presence. So this will help you at least attract job hunters if you're seeking for a job, but at the same time make yourself present or available sa LinkedIn when people try to access your profile. Kasi makikita nyo kung sino yung mga nakiklik ng profile nyo, makikita nyo rin kung sino yung nag-access ng profile nyo. May mga job hunters din na i-check kayo kasi ang LinkedIn has this capacity to search for keywords. Na when they look for a certain role, may mga job responsibilities silang identified. Pag tinype nila yon, minsan yung profile nyo lumalabas. Okay. So what are the salient features na kailangan yung tandaan and some tips that you need to remember when you create your LinkedIn profile? Una, you need to remember that you need to use a picture, of course, that represents you professionally. Okay, when we say professionally, hindi naman kailangan meron kang studio pic. It's not a very hard requirement. Ang importante lang dyan is when you project yourself or when you post a picture, you post yourself professionally. So hopefully, iwasan natin yung para mga kalahating mukha lang or nakayuko kasi we want to show who you are sa ating mga not just for companies but those who will be using LinkedIn. Next is add a clear and professional background image. to stand out as well as to show your personality or sino ka sa iyong profile. So in this case, sa akin kasi ginamit ko yung background namin sa organization because I want to represent that I'm working for Metro Pacific Investments Corp. But in your case, pwede nyo ilagay dito kung anong advocacy nyo. What do you believe in or what do you stand for? Secondly, you can also post what are your interests. Kung creative ka, kung mahilig ka sa farming, pwede mong ilagay dyan yung background ng gusto mong farm, etc. So at least parang it will already tell you what type of personality or profile you have. Remember, before I forget, LinkedIn is not similar to your resume. The CV is a more descriptive identification of the roles and responsibilities that you've done in previous organizations, but at the same time, ang LinkedIn is more or less to show who you are, your personality, on a professional level to businesses. So next is, itong portion na to, basically, pag tinype mo to, ilalagay dyan kung student ka, etc. But you can edit this and you can creatively explain what you do or sometimes your interest. So ito yung parang branding na sinasawag kanina, yung marketing mo. So sino ka ba? What do you do? Ano ginagawa mo? Anong interest mo? So it can be a very, very short phrase. Like in my case, lagay ko lang people manager with a creative and marketing background because as mentioned, yun ang undergrad ko pero at the same time I was able to practice it as well. Next is describe who you are, share some of your accomplishments, and most importantly, your mission statement. Kanina sinabi to ni Sir JJ, yung ikagay. So what do you stand for? What's your purpose? And why do you do what you do? So this one will more or less tell about it. So this can be a very short paragraph, a description of who you are and what you've done. Okay. So next part would be enter your work experience and elaborate on them, tell them stories and share experiences that you've had. So in this case, ideally what you can put here are accomplishments. Pero tell a story of these accomplishments as well. Paano ka nag-transition from one role to another? In your case, since mga fresh grads kayo, it's okay if you don't put any experiences yet. Pero if you have had volunteer experiences, advocacies that you've entered into, pwede nyo siyang ilagay dito. Kung nag-volunteer kayo sa office ni Congressman Ron, so pwede nyo rin siyang ilagay dito. Or any advocacies in relation to government initiatives, or any advocacies, personal or NGO volunteers, you can put it here as experience to tell as well who you are. Lastly, of course, like any work experience section, ito education, you can put it here. Mayroong section din dito sa education where you can put your grade, pero it's not mandated and not required. Hindi naman yan siya nagiging parang requirement as well for hiring. So you can opt not to put it, but what's important is you put as well some of the accomplishments or let's say activities that you encountered when you were at school. You can highlight on that. So when you build your LinkedIn profile, hopefully all of these salient items, or ibig sabihin natin salient, important items are present. So make sure na when pagtinignan mo siya at a glance, no, malayuan, at pag binasa mo siya, nagkukwento siya sa'yo, may ibig siyang sabihin. So make your LinkedIn profile like your own personal story of professionally. Okay, some tips with this one, when you create your LinkedIn profile, number one is, katulad din yung sinabi ni Sir JJ kanina, is to be honest and be professional. So hindi tayo para pagalingan sa LinkedIn kung nagsusulat tayo. Just be honest what you did and how you did it. You can put it there. And next is with that one, create a story with your profile. Sabi natin. Pag isang glance, mas maganda pag nakita mo siya, it already tells something about who you are as a person. And third is expand your network. So once you use LinkedIn, wag nyo lang siyang gamitin na gagawa na ako ng profile. Expand your network. Gamitin nyo siya parang Facebook din. I'm not saying that you use it every day, pero at least once in a while, gamitin nyo siya. Kahit once a week, check nyo lang. Lalo na pag naghahanap kayo ng trabaho, check nyo lang. At the same time, kasi dito sa LinkedIn, marami rin kayong matututunan about business. Kasi may mga articles yung mga businesses that posts something related to what's the movement right now, what's the trend, how technology is evolving, as well as sharing as well experiences ng mga organization. Dito nyo rin makikita yung profile ng mga orgs, ano yung mga engagement programs na ginagawa nila. Na parang, at least ito, pag nakita nyo, si Coca-Cola is very engaged in diversity. They include different types of people here. So at least it also entices you to know if the profile of the organization fits to your requirements when you are searching for a job. Next is upscaling and rescaling. So ang tip natin dito is in your profile, it's not just limited to what you're doing. Pwede ka mag-add ng additional skills sa LinkedIn. So may aspect doon ng competency which you can add, especially if you've attended online virtual sessions, learning sessions, etc. You can add certain skills like that. At pwede yung i-add yung mga professors nyo and they can vouch for your competencies and they can write comments as well. Lastly, ito yung sinabi ulit and just echoing with Sir JJ kanina, know your ethos or mission, sinasabi natin. And this is actually very close to me as well. And just to pay tribute to my professor in ethics, I know this is also one of the requirements currently of CHED na dapat may ethics course sa ating mga estudyante, if I'm not mistaken. And I realized the value of this. And let me show you how this is transformed by telling a story about the 3 stonemasons. So itong story na to is very famous actually. You can read through this dun sa book ni, it's a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. So it talks also, this parable or this story is also included in that book. And it talks about these 3 stonemasons. Itong 3 stonemasons na to ay kwento ng isang kwento ng itong 3 stonemasons, meaning stonemasons sila yung or construction worker, yung tawag sa kanila. During the olden times, yung tawag stonemasons. So may isang architect na lumapit dito sa stonemasons na to. Pare-pareho sila ng ginagawa. So just to know anong ginagawa nila, as well as parang to check up on them. So bawat isa sa kanila nilapitan nila. Nilapitan niya yung architect. So isang tanong lang ang tinanong niya sa bawat isa. So unang stonemason tinanong niya, what are you doing? Sabi niya, I am making a wall and getting paid for it. Sabi no architect, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. So and then he moved on to the next stonemason. Sabi niya, what are you doing? Ulit. Sabi no second stonemason, I am helping to build a cathedral. So sabi ulit ni architect, thank you very much, and then move to the third stonemason. Sabi ng third stonemason, tinanong ng architect, what are you doing? Sabi ng third stonemason, I am doing the work of God, helping save souls. Okay, so I don't want to sound very magkaroon ng religious impiety, but what I'm trying to point out here is, diba what's interesting in this story is that all 3 of them are doing the same function. But with N, ibig sabihin, similar JD, job description ng tawag doon pa nag-recruit, or role and responsibility, building a wall or construction. Pare-pareho sila ng ginagawa at yung tanong sa kanila pare-pareho, pero how they responded is very different. Diba? So ano ibig sabihin nun? What's the difference here? So the difference lies in the sense of place and purpose. So katulad ng sinabi ni ni Sir JJ kanina, yung unang stonemason, in-identify niya yung sarili niya, his response is in a very immediate and narrow way of what he's doing, which is not wrong, which is honest and straightforward. Ang ibig niya sabihin dito ay, gumagawa ako ng wall and binabayaran ako dito, which is okay, kasi yun naman, that's what we do for a living. Pero what's the difference in the third stonemason is that ginagawa niya yung similar thing, but he knows that there is a sense of place. At itong ginagawa niya is more or less on a grand narrative. When we say a grand narrative, bigger than who he is, on where he is right now. So this is dito na-appreciate niya na itong ginagawa niya will help build more into what is this church supposed to give. So again, I don't want to sound religious. Pero in this case, we're talking about Catholicism. So dito na-realize na when you say grand narrative, the church being built is more or less to build sacraments, which will lead to the salvation of those who will be attending the church. So ibig sabihin nito, parang he looks at himself bigger than what he is currently doing. So in this case, yung first stonemason looks at what he's doing as a job. Yung pangalawa naman, he looks at what he is doing as a career. And on the third, he looks at what he is doing as a mission. So before I proceed, I would like to pay tribute lang to my professor here, because this was discussed to us during the first part of our session virtually. It's actually created a big and huge impact to me, and I wanted to share with you guys, especially to the students, because I wanted to bring home this learning as well. When we say job, career, and mission, we're saying here, ang sinasabi niya, for job, it is focused on salary, personal gain. How we proceed is that maximum output for minimum input, meaning we gain by working more, which is not bad. I'm saying it's not bad. It's okay kasi this is how the world works. We need to work. Kailangan natin magtrabaho para we need to earn a living para magkaroon tayo ng para tayo mabuhay. Yung pangalawa naman, sinasabi niya dito, which is bigger than the job, career. He focuses himself sa career. So ibig sabihin, his focus is on growth of the organization or industry. Pero it creates silo mentality. Ibig sabihin ng silo, groups. So group mentality. Kasi this is my organization, this is my business. While the mission, yung third mission, he mentioned na I'm doing the work of God, helping save souls. So this is where you mention natin yung creating a sense of place and purpose. So this is again driven by a grand narrative or more or less bigger than you are, a social cause. So dito natin makikita yung long-term sustainability, and this is where it is aligned with nation building. So kanina sinabi ni Sir JJ about being a Filipino. So how do we now contribute to the bigger sense or bigger purpose of once we step out and start to work in an organization or a business? So to further concretize this, I would like to invite you guys now to determine, hulaan nyo kung anong klaseng trabaho ito. At itong trabaho nito, yung tao na to will respond in a way depending on how they see, katulad ng three stonemasons, on how they see their work. So if they see their work as a job, ang response nitong trabaho nito is, I fix broken bones, so my patients pay me lots of money. If I see this as a career, if the job sees this as a career, sasabihin niya, I cooperate with the doctors who fix broken bones to promote the interest of our specialization. Yung last, if he sees his work as a mission, by promoting musculoskeletal health of my fellow Filipinos, I contribute to the well-being and productivity of the nation. See how it's different in terms of how they see things? Okay. So if you may want to type in the chat box, anong klaseng profession ito? Sorry, wala akong pang-price, pero hopefully nahulaan nyo. Sorry, time's up na? Yes, correct. So it's an orthopedic surgeon. Correct, yeah. So I'll wrap this up na quickly. So what I'm trying to point out here is you need to look at your job or you need to look at work. Or once you step out to the environment, you need to look at it bigger than what you are. So this will more or less define how you see things and how you behave in your workplace. Because depending on how you see your work as a job, as a career or mission, will define your progress in what you're doing and how you progress virtually at work or in your personal life. Because if you see what your role is bigger than who you are, this will spell out a big difference on your progression. So thank you very much once again, Congressman Ron, for inviting me and sharing my experiences to the students who are the next generation of our nation building. Thank you. And Professor Jane, thank you very much.
Maraming salamat, Sir J.L. Pimentel. So, maraming salamat sa engaging. At the same time, it's remind me of my old professor in logic. And sabihin na natin, tinuro niya ulit, ni-remind niya tayo about logic and philosophy. So, Being in LinkedIn means that now you are being searchable, connected, and recommended. So I guess it's about time na para lahat tayo mag-isip if we have to create our own profile in LinkedIn, start connecting with the professional as we stay ahead with the competition. So now we're finally down to our last speaker. So our last or the third speaker is no other than the Deputy Secretary of the Administrative and Financial Services of the Senate of the Philippines. He is a career officer and has been with the Senate for more than 25 years in service. He is a proud product of a public school system from elementary to college. He graduated from the University of the Philippines, Asian Institute of Tourism, and finished law at Ateneo De Manila University. He earned his Master's of Law at the University of Warwick and United Kingdom as a British Chevening scholar. He was a Hubert Humphrey Fellow at the University of Washington, and his field of study was human resource management. He is currently the president of the Humphrey Alumni Philippines. He is a recipient of the 2009 Gawad Pio Valenzuela for Excellence in Good Service. He is a trustee and past president of the Kyle Foundation, a nonprofit organization that aims toward improving the quality of life of children with cancer and other chronic disease. Attorney Arnel believes in maintaining a work-life balance. That's why he has several interests. He is a foodie, a cook, an avid traveler, cinephile, and a swimmer. He used to be a long-distance runner and he had tried underwater hockey. Sir, buti pa kayo, marunong nun. He also believed that you only live once. So he had tried bungee jumping, skydiving, swimming. Actually, not just swimming with shark guys. And he finished the Paris Marathon. He is passionate about environment, human rights, and sustainable tourism. His first job is a crew member of a Pizza Hut, where he washes dishes and worked as a waiter for 12 years while studying law. With more than 2 decades of experience in interviewing applicants for job and scholarship, he is with us today to talk about how to prepare and excel for job interview. Our third speaker is no other than Attorney Arnel Jose S. Banyas, the Deputy Secretary of Administrative and Financial Services of the Senate of the Philippines.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Professor. Maraming salamat po sa inyong introduction. Our President, Congressman Ron Salo, thank you very much for the invitation. Like, greet everybody. Magandang hapon po sa lahat. Good afternoon. Maayong hapon doon sa mga taga-Visayas at buenas tardes sa ating mga kababayan na nasa Zamboanga. Ako po inaatasang magbigay ng talk ngayong hapon tungkol dun sa interview. Susundan ko lang po, let's look at this forum like a story. So nagsimula po si Sir JJ. Sinabi niya po sa atin na kinakaroon meron tayong plans, meron tayong objectives. Ngayon naman, sinabihan tayo ni Sir JL about career, about mission. So ito na po ngayon yung karugtong ng storya. Sa storya natin, kayo yung bida, kayo yung gumagawa ng storya. Ngayon ang gagawin po natin, kapag nakarating na kayo dun sa to-do mode, ito na po yung sa interview, nagawa nyo na inyong resume or CV, nag-put up na tayo ng LinkedIn account, at ngayon po, andun na po tayo iimbitahan na po tayo ng isang interview para malaman po nung ating prospective employer kung kung tayo po ang karapat-dapat na kuhanin nila. Okay, so ang ibibigay ko po sa inyo ngayong hapon ay mga suggestions or tips on interviews. Ito po ay resulta ng aking higit na 20 or 30 years bilang applicant at saka bilang interviewer. I'll just set up my my presentation. Sandali lang po. Okay. Okay, so Professor Jane, nakikita na po ba yung sharing ko?
Sir.
Okay. So ang akin pong topic ngayon ay pag tayo po ay nakarating na sa job interview. Ibig sabihin nun, na-impress na natin sa ating resume or CV at nakapagpadala tayo ng application letter at tayo tinawagan na ng ating mga prospective po na employers. Okay, ang atin pong ito pong definition ng ating job interview. It's just basically a conversation. It's a conversation involving the applicant, kayo po yun. Naranasan din po namin lahat yan nila Sir JJ tsaka nila Sir JL at pati siguro ni Kong Ron. We will be in front of a representative of an employer. Ang duty po niya is to assess whether an applicant should be hired or not. Okay, the very first thing to do po is to prepare. Nothing can beat an applicant who has done his or her homework. Ano po bang ating mga dapat gawin? First, we must read about the company. Ano ba yung gusto nating pasukan na kumpanya? Ito bang kumpanya na ito ay traditional? Ito bang kumpanya na ito ay a bit more formal? We need to know. It will be important for us to know the history of the company, what the company stands for, at kung kumpanya po ito ay akma para sa atin. Nakalagay po dito sa ating screen ng words na core values. We need to check whether the core values of the company and our values, whether they align. Kayo po ba ay papasok sa isang kumpanya na hindi kayo sang-ayon, hindi kayo believe sa kanilang ginagawa? So, ito po yung kinakailangan pong bago tayo pumunta doon at kung tayo tutuloy doon sa interview, aalamin po natin ang mga bagay-bagay sa kumpanya. Sino bang may-ari, ano bang kanyang mga core values, siya ba ay naniniwala sa ilang mga bagay na importante sa atin. Importante rin po na malaman natin ang pinapasukan nating trabaho. So, aalamin po natin ang position at saka yung mga responsibilities nung position na kung saan po tayo i-interviewin. So hindi po tayo pwedeng pumunta doon na ang alam lang natin ay puro lang sa sarili natin, pero hindi natin alam kung ano yung trabaho na pupuntahan po natin. I'll give you some example. Kung kayo po ba ay non-smoker, kayo po ba ay nakahandang magtrabaho sa isang kumpanya ng sigarilyo, yun po ba ay akma sa inyong mga paniniwala? Tapos po, dati po, meron po ako in-interview. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, bakit mo ba gustong magtrabaho sa Senado? Ang sabi niya, because the Senate is a prestigious institution. Sabi ko, ganon. Naalala ko si Kong Ron, baka malapit nang makarating sa amin. Tapos ang sagot ko naman sa kanya, ano bang ginagawa ng mga, ano bang mga ginagawa rito sa Senate? Tapos ang sabi niya, pasensya na po kayo, hindi ko po nabasa. Hindi ka panipaniwala na sasabihin mo ang Senate ay prestigious institution, pero hindi mo naman pala alam kung ano ginagawa ng mga senador. So, ang sabi ko sa kanya, so it did not leave a very good impression sa akin kasi parang hindi pala niya alam kung ano yung kanyang pinapasukan. Kung minsan po, importante rin na babasahan natin yung job description. Kasi nangyari na po dati na ang sabi ko doon sa applicant, nabasa mo ba ang job description? Sabi niya, opo. Pwede mo bang sabihin sa akin, base sa nabasa mo, kung alin ang pinakamadali at saka alin ang pinakamahirap? Tapos hindi siya umimik. Ang sabi niya, pasensya na po kayo, matagal ko na po kasing nabasa, hindi ko na po natatandaan. Hindi ka pa pwedeng pumunta sa isang interview na hindi mo alam yung mga bagay na to kasi mga basic yan. Wait lang. Okay, be prompt. Yan. Ang isa sa pinaka-importanting qualities ng mga Pilipino na dapat nating meron ay dapat maaga tayo sa ating mga appointments. Okay, sinabi ni Sir JL na mukayat lang hindi mo na matutuloy lahat yung puro tayo sa online lahat ng ating gagawin, no. In a not so distant galaxy na matutuloy na ulit ang face-to-face interview, magbibigay ako ng example pa ng ating dapat na gawin. ang dapat nating gawin ay, ako ang suggestion ko, kung tayo magkakaroon ng face-to-face interview in the future, we should go and visit the venue of the interview before the day of the interview itself. Lalo na kung hindi ka taga ron. Kung hindi ka taga ron sa lugar kung saan yung interview, hindi mo, kunyari, meron kang dalang kotse, doon mo palang hahanapin yung parking. Kung ikaw pala ay sasakay ng bus, hindi mo malaman kung lilipat ka pa ba ng jeep o tama na ba yung isang bus, ikaw ba ay maglalakad? Meron ba ritong security protocol yung office? Ikaw ba ay kinakailangan pang pumirma ng forms? Kukuhanan pa ba nila ng temperature bago ka makapasok dun sa may office, no? So ang suggestion ko is like try to find out where the venue is before the actual interview. Don't take the risk of finding out where don't take the risk of going to the venue on the day itself at doon mo palang aalamin lahat ng mga detalye. Ako ang suggestion ko is please go to the restroom and try to check yourself before actually going to the interview room. Relieve yourself kung kinakailangan, kung naiihi ka, umihi ka kasi baka mamaya kinakabahan ka tapos hindi ka komportable sa harap ng nag-i-interview sa'yo. Okay, online interview. Online interview, hindi excuse na naka-online interview kaya pa pwede kang malate. Kaya ang suggestion ko dito, i-check mo ang iyong connection, i-check mo ba kung naka-charge ba ang iyong laptop or yung cellphone kung yun ang gagamitin mo sa online interview. Sa online interview, ang makikita lang nila kagad dito yung yung kung dumating ka o hindi eh. So it may not be an excuse. So my suggestion is for you to charge your phone or charge your laptop so that you could be there early. Okay, dress appropriately. All right. So sa face-to-face interview, alam naman natin na ang interview ay isang bagay wherein you will be judged, wherein you will be graded. Hindi ka pa nagsasalita, minarkahan ka na dahil just by looking at you, people are already judging you or the interviewer is already judging you. So my suggestion is for you to dress appropriately. Conservatively if you must. Again, yung isusuot mo ay dapat nakamatch ito, dapat ito ay akma kung ano yung opisina na gusto mong pasukan, no? Sa online interviews naman, ang unang-una na lang nakikita ay yung registration mo dun sa screen, katulad ngayon. At saka yung sa timbre ng boses mo. Kung ikaw ay kinakabahan, makikita nila yan whether it's a live interview or whether it's an online interview. Pero ang nangyayari rito ay sa online interview kasi wala silang nakikita kundi yung siguro yung dibdib mo lang pataas eh. And everything else hindi alam yan ng interviewer. I'll give you an example. Nung doon sa dati ako nag-interview ng live. So yung meron papasok sa amin na babae, maganda yung itsura, okay naman yung makeup, naka-blazer siya. Nung tinignan ko siya ay nakasuot ng flip-flop. So ang sabi ko sa kanya, seryoso ka ba dito sa application mo sa trabaho? Ang sabi niya, opo, gusto ko pong makuha dito sa office. Sabi gano'n. Sabi ko mukhang hindi ka yata seryoso kasi naka-flip-flop ka. Nung tingin na niya, nagulat siya because masyado siyang ninenervyos. Pumasok siya doon sa building namin na ang suot lang niya ay flip-flop. Of course, I did not take it against the applicant, no? Kasi hindi naman yung applicant ang magdidikta, hindi naman yung suot niya sa paang magdidikta kung siya ay magaling na empleyado o hindi. Pero it's one of those things. In another office, it might matter. Okay, I'll just give you an example kasi this only happened last week. Nakikita niyo naman ako sa screen, no? I was interviewing a female applicant. Siguro naghintay siya ng mga ilang minuto nung Ito yung eksaktong nakita ko nung humarap na siya sa screen. Para siyang nakahiga. Para siyang, nung siguro nasa bahay siya, mukhang at home naman talaga siya makipag-usap sa akin kasi talagang nakahiga siya habang nagpapa-interview. At nakataas pa yung collar niya. So again, ang unang-unang pumasok sa isip ko, hindi yata seryoso tong nag-a-apply sa akin ng trabaho, no? So for some people, depende sa klase ng trabaho, how you sound and how you dress is actually could be very important. Alam natin na ang importante yung first impression. Yun ang unang-unang makikita sa atin nung nag-interview. So ako, ang suggestion ko is we have to look neat. We have to look neat because looking neat may be compared with being dependable or being reliable. Ikaw ba kukuha ka ba ng isang secretary or receptionist na humarap sa iyo sa camera na magulo yung buhok, no? So these are simple things, but if you are in a live interview, in a face-to-face interview, yung mannerisms mo, yung gestures mo makikita. Kapag naman ikaw ay nasa online interview, you will just basically be judged or graded based on what they see on screen. So we have to make sure that we look good and that we sound good dun sa ating interview. Okay, this is something that I think we should apply whether we are in an interview or not in an interview, especially if you're listening to your spouse, sa iyong asawa, kinakailangan listen before you speak. Baka kung ano-anong masabi mo. Magtatanong ka, saan ka nang galing? Huwag mo munang sagutin, hayaan mo munang matapos yung asawa mo para habang nagtatanong siya, nag-iisip ka muna ng sagot, no? An interviewer may use different styles or approach in asking questions. Sometimes a question would look very simple, pero baka mamaya merong hinahanap dun yung interviewer. Kung minsan naman bibigyan ka ng interviewer ng situation, ipapa-analyze sa iyo at saka hihingan ka ng sagot. Kung minsan naman the interviewer will give you options or multiple choice. Bawat isa doon ay merong katumbas na halaga para sa kanya. Hindi yun basta lang nagtanong lang siya kasi iniba lang niya yung kanyang style. Kung minsan tayo, we have a prepared answer for a question that we anticipated. Nangyari na sa akin na hindi pa tapos yung tanong ko, sumasagot na yung applicant. By the time na matapos yung sagot niya, ang sabi ko sa kanya, hindi na tinatanong ko. Because ang gusto niyang sagutin ay yung alam niya. So ang sasabi ko rito ay alam naman ng interviewer na ang applicant ay baka kinakabahan. So ang suggestion ko dito, makinig ka muna, pakinggan mo muna mabuti kung ano yung tinatanong sa'yo at saka ka sumagot. Listen, organize your thoughts, and then respond. Okay, I have a question. Is it okay to say I don't know to the interviewer? Ako para sa akin, oo, okay sa'yo na sabi mo sa akin, hindi ko po alam ang sagot. Kasi kung totoo namang hindi mo alam ang sagot, ba't mo naman pipilitin yung sarili mo? Kasi pag sinabi mong, I know the answer, meron akong kasunod na tanong para patunayan na alam mo nga yung sagot. Ngayon, if you're applying, kunyari nag-apply ka ng trabaho bilang chef, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, I don't know how to use this oven. Kasi in-expect niya na marunong ka magluto ng, sasabihin sa'yo, marunong ka bang maglinis ng, do you know how to handle chicken? Ang sasabihin mo, yes. Paano kung sabihin ng interviewer sa'yo, kunyari face-to-face na, o sige nga, pumunta tayo sa kitchen and tell me how you would cook the chicken. So, isabihin, dapat naka-ready ka. Pag sinabi mo na kaya mo, isabihin nun, kaya mong pangatawanan. Ang suggestion ko rito, please, wag po kayong magmadali so that you could have the correct answer dun sa mga questions niya. And for me, it's okay to say I don't know. But I think the ladies can always get away with saying I don't know in a very charming way. And sige po. Okay. In everything we do, of course, we don't want to be stressed. We try to relax. We try to relax, and the best way to relax is for us to practice. So tatanungin niyo po yung inyong best friend, tanungin po niyo yung kasama sa bahay, pwede kayong magkaroon ng mock na face-to-face interview. Pwede rin kayong magkaroon ng practice na online interview. Pag nag-practice po kayo ng online interview, doon niyo po ma-check yung inyong screen presence, yung inyong pong lights, kung saan ba kayo dapat anggulo, yung background na gusto niyo gamitin. Alam po ninyo, kapag hindi po tayo relax, hindi po spontaneous ang ating pagsagot sa mga tanong. At kung minsan nagiging para tayong robotic, which I think a lot of interviewers would not want. Kapag tayo po ay hindi relax, it's either our answers are too short and we fail to emphasize, nakakalimutan nating ipaliwanag kung ano yung talagang gusto nating sabihin. Kung minsan naman kapag tayo po ay hindi relax, pagkahaba-haba ng ating sagot at paikot-ikot lang at wala na po itong saysay. No? So ang suggestion ko po is that let's try to relax. Again, practice makes perfect. So my suggestion is for you to practice whether it's a face-to-face interview or an online interview, this is something that we could practice. Okay, just like in many things, we have to be honest. Let's not exaggerate our skills. Sinabi po sa atin ni Sir JL kanina, pag nag-open na po kayo ng inyong LinkedIn account, maglalagay na po tayo ng iba nating mga activities, no? Are we going to put things there that we say we did in order to look cool? Are we going to put their trainings that we never took? Are we gonna put there's a list of skills na hindi naman talaga natin alam? Let's not exaggerate. Kasi baka mamaya kayo ay ma-hire nung kumpanya tapos balikan kayo doon sa sinabi ninyong skills na alam niyo tapos sabi niyo, sorry po, hindi ko na po alam. So, wala pong makapapalit sa mga tao na palaging nagsasabi ng tapat at palaging nagsasabi ng totoo. Kasi kapag kayo po ay na-hire na nung kumpanya na gusto ninyong pasukan, baka po ipagawa sa inyo yung sinasabi ninyong alam ninyo. Ang inyo pong kinakailangan din pong basahin ninyo po inyong resume. Anong ginawa ninyong CV or sa inyong LinkedIn account, pag tinanong ko sa yung pala, kayo mismo hindi nyo natatandaan kung anong nilagay nyo doon kasi hindi naman pala totoo. Okay, one of the things that I think I find very interesting, ano po bang lengguwahe ang dapat nating isagot doon sa nagtatanong sa atin pag sa interview? Again, the answer there I think would be dependent on the company that you're trying to work for, the position that you're aiming. Kayo po ba ay rank and file, supervisor, English teacher, kayo po ba ay managerial or executive? If you are applying for a multinational company wherein there are people in the organization who are foreigners, and you are applying to work directly with a foreigner, it might be safe to assume that you will be expected to have a very good command of the English language. Paano naman po yung accent natin? Will the accent be important? Should it be taken against you? Ako po, ang sagot ko po rito dapat po ay hindi. Kung ang applicant po ninyong trabaho po ay researcher, I think ang gusto po nilang malaman ay inyong communication skills, written communication skills, ang inyong research skills. Pero kung siguro po ang inyong applicant na trabaho ay sa call center, or gusto niyo pong maging newscaster, gusto niyo po ninyong maging radio announcer, then I think our enunciation or the words that we're going to use, our comfortability in using the language that they expect us to use, I think magiging mahalaga po yun. And when I say English only, please, actually sa ngayon po, mukhang meron po mga nagtatrabaho rito sa mga call centers na hindi naman yata English ang ginagamit na salita. So yun po ating mga kababayan na nag-aral ng Espanyol o ng Pranses or ng Mandarin, they could actually be hired, no? And it doesn't have to be the language that we are accustomed to. Okay. Ang suggestion ko po is that we want to be memorable for the right reasons. Ang isang interview po ay pwede pong tumagal ng 1 minuto lang. At isang interview kapag po ginanahan ang interviewer kasi napaka-interesting, napaka-ganda ninyong applicant, baka po tumagal ito ng 30 minutes to 1 hour. Bagamat from my experience, a very short or a very long interview does not guarantee whether you will be hired or whether you will not be considered. Nagkaroon na po ako ng mga interviews sa scholarships na in-applyan ko. Ang tingin ko po, maikli po yung aking interview na oras, pero natanggap na rin naman po ako. So again, you want the interviewer to remember you because you were courteous, because you were prompt. You want the interviewer to remember you kasi you were articulate, and that you are very respectful, and that you are very knowledgeable. These are the things that would make the interview very memorable. I will give you a very specific example of an interview that happened about 15 years ago. Pumasok po yung applicant sa kwarto. Siya po ay pinaupo. Ang unang tanong po dun sa applicant ay, where did you finish your university degree? Alam po ba ninyo kung anong sagot ng applicant? Ang sagot po niya ay, it's right there in my CV. Alam po ba ninyo kung ano nangyari sa susunod? The interview ended right then and there. Ang sabi po sa kanya ay, thank you for coming. Can you just imagine an applicant telling the interviewer on the first question, what, where did you graduate again? And then she answered, it's right there in my CV. So you don't want to be remembered in that way, no? And that interview happened 15 or 20 years ago. That lady is still, and it's a lady, no? That lady is still remembered by the office where she came because of that response. All right. Please, very important. Please don't speak ill of anyone, including your past and present boss. I think, and I think sa mga estudyante, please don't speak ill of your past teachers. Kapag nakita po ng interviewer na sinisiraan ninyo ang inyong client, ang inyong current boss at inyong past boss, mas malamang gagawin nyo din po yun doon sa opisinang papasukan ninyo. At it's the action tells of a thousand words of the kind of person you are and the character that you have. Pwede po ba tayong maging confident and humble? Ang sagot po dyan ay yes. Because it takes lots of confidence to be humble. We put a lot of effort to be good in what we do. And we are expected to, while we are expected to say how good we are during the interview, in my perspective, pwede po nating sabihin kung gaano tayong kagaling nang hindi tayo mukhang nagyayabang lang. Kapag nakasalita po tayo sa interview, tulad po ng ginagawa ko sa inyo ngayon, we need to believe in what we're saying. Because when we believe in what we say, nakikita po yun ng interviewer, and hopefully the interviewer will remember us and hire us or invite us for a second interview. Yan. Sino po ba rito ang merong Twitter account? Sayang, di ko kayo nakikita. Kung live sana to, makikita ko yung mga sagot ninyo. Sino po ba rito ang merong mga magagandang post sa Instagram? Sino na po rito yung maraming post sa TikTok? Na usong-uso po ngayon ng TikTok. Katulad po nung sinabi ni Sir JL kanina, yun pong ating mga ilalagay po sa ating, sinabi rin po to ni Sir JJ kanina, kung meron po kayong mga hindi ka nais na post, it's time for us to remove them. Whatever we put on social media, at some point might be checked by our prospective employers. I'll give you an example po. Natatandaan po ba niyo yung kwento ng isang male nurse sa Singapore? Meron yata siyang nilagay sa Facebook. And he said not so nice things about Singapore and Singaporeans. Nakita po ng kanyang pinagtrabahuhang hospital and I think he was fired. He was asked to go back. Just last month, we were interviewing somebody in the Senate. Nung interviewin ko na ho yung applicant, meron sa akin nagpadala ng post. Post nung mismong applicant. Ang nakalagay dun sa kanyang post ay, it's a big joke to work for the Congress of the Philippines. Binagay sa akin just before the interview. Siyempre ako naman po, in-interview ko naman. In-interview naman namin siya. Tinanong siya ng isa sa mga interviewers niya. Ano yung nilagay mong post sa Facebook na it's a joke to work for the Congress of the Philippines? Tapos tumahimik lang po siya. Ang sabi po niya ay nagbibiro lang daw siya. Hindi biro-biro ang nakuha niyang grade sa aming lahat. At hindi rin po siya nakuha sa kanyang application sa amin. Okay. Be prepared in case the salary is brought up. Ang salary ba ang nag-iisang criteria kung bakit mo tatanggapin ang isang trabaho? Papasok ba dito ito ba ang pagtinanong ka ba ng interviewer na anong salary ang gusto mo at pag sinabi sa iyo ng interviewer na ito lang kaya namin ibigay, tatanggihan mo ba kasi sa tingin mo ang halaga mo ay mas higit pa doon sa gusto niyang ibigay. Ang kapag hindi naman tinanong ng kapag kunyari lang hindi na-interview ka, hindi mo alam yung sweldo at hindi rin naman tinanong sa iyo nung nag-interview, okay lang ba na tanungin mo kung magkano po ang sweldo dito sa trabaho na-applyan ko? Para sa akin okay lang. And I think salary is something that I think it is something that should be discussed because whether we like it or not, salary is important. However, ano bang ipapakita mo dun sa interviewer na salary lang, na yung sweldo lang ang main criterion sa pagtanggap po o hindi sa trabaho? What your answer will probably have an impact on whether you are hired or not by the company. Ako po, kapag nag-i-interview po ako ng mga applicants, isa po sa mga titingnan ko ay yung mga special skills and hobbies. For me, this is important because this goes beyond the kind of work that I might be expecting from a prospective employee. The special skills and hobbies makes each of us unique. At saka yun po ating mga hobbies, yung ating mga extracurricular activities, ang ating mga special skills would somehow, in my opinion, would somehow give the interviewer the other qualities of the person, whether you are creative, whether you are applying for a technical position, but you could also be creative. In my opinion, somebody who knows how to bake, yung marunong mag-bake, no, is a person who is very precise. Kasi po ang sabi po sa akin ay hindi raw po aalsa ang tinapay kapag mali daw po ang ingredients. So somebody who knows how to bake is very precise. Somebody who could do long distance swimming and who could do long distance running is probably somebody who malakas ang kanyang endurance. Ibig sabihin nun, pwede siyang magtrabaho ng mahabang oras. Ang isang tao na marunong tumugtog ng musical instrument is probably, I read it somewhere, is somebody na mataas ang kanyang patience at mataas ang kanyang kasi hindi mataas ang kanyang stress level. Kasi napupunta yung kanyang mga sama ng loob pag tumutugtog daw ng instrumento yung mga tao. Ang isang tao na naging member ng basketball team, ang para sa akin, or ng isang sports team, ito ay isang tao na marunong ng teamwork. At ang naging officer ng student council at ng ibang organization sa campus, ang ibig sabihin na ay meron siyang leadership skills. So, kapag po if everything is equal, I think that company will probably look at some of the other things, the add-ons that you will bring to the company. So para po sa akin, special skills and hobbies are important. Okay, be prepared. Baka po yung isang interview ninyo ay hindi rin nag-iisang interview. If you impress the interviewer so much, you might be called for a second or third interview. Be prepared for a panel interview. Hindi lang ang interview po ay hindi lang palaging isang tao lang ang nagtatanong sa inyo. Posible pong meron pong panel interview. Sa amin po sa Senado, kapag po ang ini-interview po namin ay para sa isang managerial position, yun sa department ko po, ako po tumatawag po ng panel interview. And the language that we use for the interview is English. Kapag po ang ina-apply po naming trabaho ay po sa rank and file, binibigyan po namin ng leeway yung pong aming applicant kung anong lingwahe po yung kanyang gustong gamitin. Okay, ako po'y patapos na. How I wish I have a magic formula that would tell all of you listening this afternoon na if you follow this formula, you will always get a perfect score in interviews. Pasensya na po kayo, wala pong ganung formula. Ang binigay ko po sa inyong tips are the tips that have been used many times in my experience. Ang gusto po nating every time po na tayo po ay humaharap sa interviewer, dala-dala po natin ang ating personal brand. Ang ating personal brand ay nagsimula po doon sa pagsasubmit po ninyo ng resume na sinabi ni Sir JJ. Doon po sa makikita ng ating prospective employer sa social media na in-emphasize po ni Sir JL. Ang gusto po nating sanang personal brand ay ang personal brand na tayo ay mapagkakatiwalaan, na tayo ay honest, that we are good in what we do, na tayo po ay na tayo po ay merong future o merong kinabukasan kung tayo po ay tatanggapin po ng kumpanya. Hindi po ang atin pong brand ay, our brand continues to evolve. Kung ikaw ay natapos sa ganito sa college, hindi ibig sabihin na doon ka na lang habang panahon. Kaya ka kukuha ng iba pang mga trainings and skills. Hindi lang yung ibang mahina o malakas, hindi po tayo mananatili sa ganong estado. Nasa sa atin po kung anong gusto nating mangyari sa buhay natin. So, let's protect our brand by improving ourselves and by learning new skills. Ito pong aking huling slide, no? Nobody is guaranteed to get a perfect score all the time. Wala pong garantiya na everybody will actually like us all the time. The only thing that we can do na nasa control natin is to be the best version of ourselves. Now, I'm asking you to please be the best version of yourself. And that version is the one that you will show in your first, second, or third interview. It does not make any difference kung kayo po ay hindi matanggap kaagad after your first interview. I was turned down by McDonald's when I first applied for a job. It was way before I thought of studying law. So ang pwede ko lang pong sabihin sa inyo ay, let's do our best and let's always give our best. And let's be the best version of ourselves. Thank you, Professor Jane.
Okay, maraming salamat, Attorney Arnel Banes. So, all right, and ladies and gentlemen, now we are about to proceed on our question and answer portion. Our team have pre-selected a question that will be answered by our speaker. All of the questions that are left unanswered will be replied by the speaker personally through the office of Congressman Ron Salo. If you have other questions and inquiries, you may visit, like, and message the Kabayan Party List FB page. So then the floor is now open for the question and answer. Okay, for the first question, in your point of view, sir, do you agree in the passage, if you are applying in any government position or government sector, it's not what you know, it's whom you know. What is your take about this? I guess, sir, what is your view on the statement, in applying in a government position is not what you know or what is your qualification, but it's whom you know. So, sino pong mauna? I guess, Sir JJ?
Well, I think the best person, I'll give my response, very quick one, but the best person to respond to this is really Attorney Banyas, because he is from government. No? So, but anyway, I think, it's a reality that we need to confront. It's not, my point of view is that it happens. And however, there are indications, at least from where I stand, that there are certain progressive organizations within government. I have not worked with government other than military career, in the military, but I have worked with government agencies which are progressive and are merit-based. No, so I guess the idea is there are progressive government institutions that are merit-based, so that does not happen quite often there. What is my take about this is that at the end of the day, I think at the risk of making a political statement, which I don't think I am, at the end of the day, we have a government that we choose. So next year's election. So all of you, please register and please vote the right people in government so that practices like this will not be the norm. Okay?
Attorney Banyas?
Akala ko tatawagin ni Sir JJ si Kong Ron eh. Kasi taga-gobyerno rin naman si Kong Ron.
Hot seat yun, sir.
Ang sagot ko po rito ay, in the real world, many things happen. Some of the things that happen we don't like. But this is not confined to government. Meron nga po di bang mga, kaya di pa po nauso po yung term na COO, child of the owner. It can happen po not only in government, but it can also happen in private. Ang pwede ko lang pong sabihin sa inyo ay, in my 25 years at the Senate, I have always fought for merit. I've always voted for people who I think deserve. And that's the reason why I take the interview part very seriously. Kasi po, alam ko po na bilang boss, kapag po hindi ko nakuha yung tamang tao, ako rin naman ang mahihirapan kasi mas maraming trabahong gagawin, paulit-ulit na gagawin. So the answer there po is the I will not tell a lie that it could happen, not just in the Philippines but anywhere in the world. But it could also happen both in the public and the private sector. So hindi po ito wala po yung monopoly lang po ng public sector.
Okay, Sir JL.
Yes, I agree also to the statements of Attorney Daniel and Sir JJ. Just to contextualize this naman, it's a perspective. This is where the science of recruitment comes in. So I'm not saying this statement does not hold true to the private sector as well as to the public sector. But as mentioned kanina ni Sir JJ, in more progressive organizations, meron kasi silang tinatawag na science ng recruitment, and there's a process where they assess the candidate based on merit. Even if this is referred by someone, there are certain steps or processes where there is assessments as well, where they are being measured. So dito papasok yung sa mga online assessment tests, interview assessments or ratings, if this first candidate will proceed to the next steps. So may rationalization yung mga progressive organizations when they hire a certain candidate.
Okay, medyo mainit yata ang ating question and answer. But guys, please be reminded of the National Higher Education Day on May 8th. So this is in connection with the celebration of the CHED, or the Commission on Higher Education founding anniversary. So guys, your certificate will be available right after this webinar. So for our next question, for any of the speaker daw, may I know your thought on how to best conduct practicum/internship via digital platform, and how the OJT agreement between the academy and the industry will differ under this online setup. Sir Banyas, government sector daw.
Alam po ninyo, naging intern na po ako ng maraming beses, at yung pong trabaho po ng bilang intern, marami po doon ay yun pong hindi po nagagawa ngayon sa online. So kung ako pong tatanungin sa biglaang pag-iisip, ang masasabi ko po ay ang isa po sa mga mabibigay naming internship, siguro po sa Senate, are the ones that who will have to write or who will do some research, kasi ito po yung merong output eh. Yung pong output-based na mga gawain ang pwede naming maging intern. So yung pong sinasabi ni Sir JJ kay ni Sir JL, dito po papasok yung certain specific skills na gagamitin. So kinakala po meron po kayong gadget, marunong po kayong mag-research, marunong po kayong magsulat. Kung kunyari po magi-internship po kayo sa office po kunyari ni Kong Ron, you need to have some kind of a research tools on how to be able to give it. Kasi po yung pong actual physical presence is not required right now or is not very ideal right now. So sa tingin ko po yung pong mga trabaho o yung mga gawain na output based at the moment po yun po ang pinaka-pwedeng gawin po for internships.
Okay, for the government sector, they suggested for a research-based OJT or practicum or internship. For the private sector naman po, pwede po ba either si Sir Moreno lang or si Sir JJ or si Sir JL?
Since my response is similar to Attorney Banyas, I'll defer to Sir JL.
Okay, Sir JL daw po.
So similar to this, to be honest, this is still in a work in progress, especially sa Philippine companies, on how to structure OJTs for the private sector. So in line with that, katulad ng sinabi ni Attorney Ernie, magiging specific job requirement or responsibility ngayon yung magiging task of this person, which will require hindi face-to-face yung requirement for this role. In terms of paano to i-address currently, I don't think may clear definition yet. So it's still a handshake or collaboration between the requirement ng board at the same time yung requirement ng school or ng establishment.
Okay. Okay, maraming salamat po. Now we'll go to the third question. Sir Arnel. So it's intended for Sir Arnel daw po. During the interview, both face-to-face and via online, are there difference in establishing a character among applicants?
Are there differences in establishing the character among applicants? There could be slight differences. Ako po, bilang abogado, ang training po namin ay kapag po ang testigo ay nasa harap ng korte, we are supposed to be very observant in the subtle gestures and movements of the eyes, no? And movements of the hands. Malalaman po namin whether a witness is telling a lie or not. Kapag po doon po sa online, kahit po kinukurot na po yung binti ninyo, hindi po namin makikita kasi nakita lang po namin ay yung harap lang po. So ang sagot po din ay I think there are subtle differences kung ang interview po ay face-to-face or yung pong online. Pero po para sa akin, the character po may have been established even before the interview started. If I will base it po sa sinabi ni Sir JJ, nababasahin ko mabuti ang inyong CV or resume, at sinabi ni Sir JL, natitignan kung isa-isa lahat ng nilagay nyo sa inyong LinkedIn at saka lahat ng post sa Facebook, I would probably have been able to establish whether you are a thinker, whether you are a bully, whether you are an influencer, whether you are an environmentalist. There are many ways of looking at it. Maybe a short interview or even a one-time interview will not be a very good gauge in order for me to judge the character of one person. And that's the reason why sometimes you need to have a second, third interview. And I think Sir JJ or Sir JL said even though na kami might even be given a written exam. Unfortunately, character is one of those things that is not written on the face or you could put in the resume. Sometimes you need time in order to judge a person. And sometimes you are with the person for the longest time and still you end up realizing you still don't know that person. So my answer here is po, are there differences? I think yes, there are differences. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's very obvious, but there are differences. But can you judge a person or can you tell a person's character? Yes, you can. But are you 100% sure all the time? No, you're not.
Okay. So, ang ama ng Komisyon ng Higher Education, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a great man behind the Commission on Higher Education. He graduated Bachelor in Public Administration from the University of the Philippines, a Master of Arts in Social Science, Bachelor of Arts in the University of the Philippines, and had been awarded by the provincial government of Pangasinan as the Outstanding Pangasinense Awards in 2014. He brings with him his extensive experience in the Philippine government, having served as the Technical Assistant, Chief of Staff, Senior Consultant, Senior Advisor to the former Senate President Aquilino Pimentel Jr., Senate President Pro Contemporary Solitero Laurel, Leticia Ramos Shahani, Juan Plavier, Senator Ramon Magsaysay Jr., and Gregorio Onasan. He also worked as a policy analyst of the Committee on Revenue and Taxation of the California State Legislature in United States. He held position as a Vice President for the Public Affairs in the University of the Philippines, and currently on his second term as chairperson of the Commission on Higher Education. Please, let's welcome Dr. J. Prospero Popoy de Vera.
Thank you very much for the warm introduction. Konting correction lang. First term ko lang po na chair. Baka pag sinabing second term, madaming sigiling achievement kaagad sa akin. So my first term as chair of the
nasa profile nyo.
So let me start by greeting and acknowledging my friend Congressman Ron Salo, Gabayan Party List Representative, President of the Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines, and the primary mover of the transnational education a law that was passed by Congress. Dr. Manuel Muhi, President of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Our guest and resource persons, Bishop Paul Hernandez, Jonathan J.J. Moreno, Chief Strategy Officer of the Metro Retail Stores Group. My friend, Attorney Arnel Banyas, Deputy Secretary of the Senate. Mr. Juan Luis Pimentel, HR Manager of Metro Pacific Investments. Other guests, officials, and most important of all, to our 600 participating students who are with us this afternoon in a very interesting activity. I have been listening to the question and answer portion while waiting for my turn. And I actually wished I was there for the question and answer. Mas gusto kong sagutin yung question and answer, lalo na tungkol sa whether it is based on your qualifications or based on your connections when you enter government, and also how do you do OJT during this time of the pandemic. But on behalf of the Commission on Higher Education, I would like to thank the Office of Gabayan Representative Congressman Ron Salo for organizing College to Career, a 12-part webinar series for our graduating students, which is designed to help our fresh graduates develop very good job hunt skills. When Congressman Salo discussed this with me in one of his visits to my office, I immediately said that Ched would be very interested to join this very important activity because it is the responsibility, of course, of government agencies such as Ched to make sure our graduates are appropriately trained and capacitated as they enter the workforce. With events such as resume writing presentation, and effective self-marketing, this will surely increase the chances of our graduates in landing a job and thrive in their chosen careers. Before I joined Ched, I have been regularly attending the career day talks at my alma mater, Quezon City Science High School. And the usual topic given to me at that time was how should you prepare yourself if you will enter a career in the academe. And I was doing that at that time, either as Professor of Public Administration in UP, and later as Vice President of the University of the Philippines. So I was very interested in our guests talking about a career in government. And these skills that our students are getting is of course important because it increases their chances to enter the workforce, become professionals, improve themselves and improve their families, and ultimately the nation. I am proud to say that the Commission on Higher Education during the administration of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte has made possible what was considered impossible for a very long time. And this is the signing of Republic Act 10931, or the Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education, in August 3, 2017. This law has provided free education to approximately now 1.6 million students in 112 state universities and colleges and 123 local universities and colleges who do not pay tuition and miscellaneous fees anymore. Another 500 students from both public and private universities are getting what is called the tertiary education subsidy, an innovation of government which provides additional education assistance for the day-to-day expenses and education expenses of our young people. And another 300 plus thousand students who are getting their tulong-dunong, which has now been institutionalized because before you get your tulong-dunong every year, now once you're a tulong-dunong grantee, you are now covered under the tertiary education subsidy every year thereafter. This landmark legislation, of which Congressman Ron Salo was one of the champions in the House of Representatives, of course, is not a new idea. I myself am a graduate of the public school system, and I know personally from experience how stressful it is when enrollment time comes, because you have to look for ways to have money for your tuition and miscellaneous. And during the semester, you've got to tighten your belt. Sisikipan mo yung sinturon mo. Kung maliit yung baon mo, o mas masama, hindi dumating yung padala ng magulang mo sa iyong pag-aaral. So I think the biggest contribution of the Duterte administration is the belief that investing in our young people is the best investment in the future of the country. In short, getting people or getting our young people educated is not seen anymore by the government as an expense. It is the money allocated for free higher education is not seen as government expense. It is seen as an investment in the future of our country. Because by investing in our young people, we produce a more educated, better trained, and highly employable workforce that will become the engine of growth for our nation in the coming years. The decision to sign RA 10931, of course, as our young people know, was not very easy because there were some groups, individuals, even national leaders who did not believe in free higher education and had asked the president to veto the measure. In the end, the critical factor that swayed the president to sign the bill into law is the president himself. I am often asked what was the secret weapon in getting the law enacted. And I said the secret weapon is President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Because deep in his heart, he really believes in investing in young people. And so the law was signed. And now we have more than 2 million students in public and private universities that are being financially subsidized by government in various ways. Free tuition and miscellaneous, tertiary education subsidy, additional subsidy through the tulong-dunong, and other scholarships of government agencies, like the merit scholarships of the Commission on Higher Education, the science scholarships of the DOST, the agriculture scholarships of the Department of Agriculture, and others. I am mentioning this in connection with what is happening now, because the decision to enact RA 10931, looking back, I would call it heaven sent o laglag ng langit. Because if we did not pass RA 10931 and the pandemic hit us last year, we would have seen a tremendous decline in the enrollment in our public universities because the difficulties of the economic downturn will not allow many of our students to enroll. And therefore, RA 10931 made our public higher education system COVID resilient because we did not see a decrease in the enrollment in public universities. In fact, we see an increase in the enrollment. And for those that are receiving tertiary education subsidy, the test was not just for the education needs of young people. It was used to support their families. And so as we meet here today, I am happy to be with you because about 700,000 of you will be graduating in 2021 and will be joining the workforce. You are already considered winners in your own right because you were able to triumph over all the adversities, especially during this trying time of the pandemic. Our statistics show that for every 100 students who enroll in grade 1, only 50 of them finish senior high. So for every 100 young Filipinos who go to grade 1, only half finish senior high. Of this 50% that pass senior high, historically, only 25% try to go to higher education. So from the original batch of 100 students in grade 1, only 25 out of the original 100 get to higher education. And not all the 25 graduates because some drop out, some leave to get a job to fend for their families. Now, free higher education is slowly reversing this trend. It is our belief and conviction in CHED that the 25% must increase. More and more young people should try to go to higher education. And because of government subsidy, a bigger percentage of them should finish their education. So for our young people who are here with us, acquiring a college degree is a step closer in your journey to a better life that you have envisioned for yourself and your family. You're one of the lucky ones. You're one of the 100 young Filipinos who started grade 1 who have made it through the obstacles and struggles until higher education, until you complete your studies. I therefore ask you to take this opportunity being offered by these workshops and webinars to sharpen your skills, to enhance your knowledge. I hope that this series of seminars will prepare you for a life outside the classroom, give you the necessary skills to write a good resume, understand how to apply for a job, understand what is needed in the interview. You are leaving the classroom now to become an entrepreneur, a government official, an employee in the private sector. Some of you will go on to graduate school to develop yourselves further. And in all of this, the Commission is committed to help you beyond college. We are investing in a lot of programs for those who go to the teaching profession, for example, scholarships for young Filipinos who go into teaching particularly. So again, thank you to the Kabayan Party List, the Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines, the Civil Service Commission, and all our speakers today for providing this opportunity to our graduates. I encourage you all to make the most of this training, and I likewise hope that this will serve as a springboard for you and your most awaited career, whether in government, in private sector, or in other fields and professions. So maraming salamat po. Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Dr. Prospero Popoy de Vera, ang ama ng Komisyon ng Higher Education. So, I hope that everyone learned a lot for today's session. So, marami tayong natutunan, hindi lang sa ating mga speaker, kung hindi sa ating commissioner ng Komisyon ng Higher Education. As a token of our appreciation for their time and valuable contribution on today's webinar, may I read the certificate of appreciation. This certificate of appreciation is hereby presented to Jonathan Juan J.J. Moreno for imparting his valuable insight and sharing his experience in C2C College 2 Career Webinar Series for graduating college and senior high school student entitled The Ultimate Guide to Job Hunting, Marketing Oneself Effectively, held on 14th of May 2021 via Zoom. Signed, Dr. Ron P. Salo, LLB, LLM, EED, Representative Gabayan Party List, President, Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines. Dr. Manuel Muhi, DepEd, Asian Engineer, University President, Polytechnic University of the Philippines. The next certificate of appreciation is awarded to Juan Luis Pimentel, speaker, for imparting his invaluable insight and sharing his experience in C2C College to Career Webinar Series for graduating college and senior high school students, entitled The Ultimate Guide to Job Hunting, Marketing Oneself Effectively, held on 14th of May 2021 via Zoom, signed Dr. Ron P. Salo, LLB, LLM, EED, Representative Gabayan Party List, President, Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines Incorporated, Dr. Manuel M. Muhi, DTech, Asian Engineer, University President, Polytechnic University of the Philippines. The third certificate is for Certificate of Appreciation is hereby presented to Attorney Arnel Jose Banyas, speaker, for imparting his invaluable insight and sharing his expertise in the C2C Knowledge to Career Webinar Series for graduating college and senior student, entitled The Ultimate Guide to Job Hunting, Marketing Oneself Effectively, held on 14th of May 2021 via Zoom, signed Dr. Ron P. Salo, LLB, LLM, EED, Representative Gabayan Party List, President, Chevening Alumni Foundation of the Philippines Incorporated, Dr. Manuel M. Muhi, Asian Engineer, University President, Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Okay, so I hope everyone do have so many takeaways for today. So for our next speaker, he is a licensed civil engineer, a professional engineer, engineering manager, and a registered Asian engineer, a proud alumnus of the university, PUP. He has served Sintang Paaralan for various capacities as chairperson of the Department of Civil and Engineering, Dean of the College of Engineering, and then the Vice President for Research Extension, Planning and Development. And during his stint as BPAA, or the Vice President for Academic Affairs and Services, Academic Affairs. He is currently served as Executive Vice President and now the 13th University President of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines or Polytechnicong Universidad ng Pilipinas. Let's all welcome Dr. Manuel M. Muhi.
Thank you, Ma'am Jane. Sa atin pong napakasipag and ever supportive na CHED Chairman, Dr. Prospero de Vera III, Kabayan Party List Representative, Honorable Congressman and PUP Regent Attorney Ron Salo, to our executive officials, faculty members, partner institutions, Chevening Scholarship Philippines, officials of Cavite State University, Cebu Normal University, IRIS, Tarlac State University, and to all our participating schools and graduating students. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat, and thank you for being with us in our first day of C2C or College to Career webinar series. As we all know, this is a very challenging time for our nation. Our economy has suffered losses and has been severely affected by the pandemic, resulting in a high unemployment rate, lagging job opportunities, and uneven career prospects. With the world becoming highly competitive and uncertain, it is understandable that our students feel anxious and unprepared for the future. This is why training and upskilling are necessary. Our C2C webinar series is specially prepared to hand you the right tools to overcome the new and unique challenges of the workplace. As the next builders of this nation, you must be ready and be equipped to face the big obstacles that might come your way. I believe that these steps we take today must not only be directed towards eradicating the virus, but also in facing and confronting a future that is full of changes and potential. I am confident to say that the young generation today is more agile, creative, and adaptive. Half of the battle is already won as they have been prepared and are used to the latest trends. Hence, the best thing to do in such a time as this is to make use of these qualities to thrive. As graduating students, do not just wait out the pandemic. Instead, be intentional in pursuing ways to create a path of your own. You can do this by gaining new skills, persevering, and by heavily leaning on a lot of learning opportunities provided to you by your beloved institutions. Remember that having the right heart, the right mindset, and the right response will certainly take you the right path into your dream jobs and your many aspirations. In the process, however, always be patient with yourself. Landing on big opportunities does not come without trials and tribulations. Learning and success is a lifelong pursuit that requires a lot of effort and humility on your part. Always remember that once we have reached your peak heights, let us offer ourselves and achievements to the betterment of the nation and our people. With that, we hope that this webinar series to help in your career choices. Our goal is for all of you to learn from the expert knowledge of our speakers, renew your motivation, and regain your confidence. Siguro naman po sa mga inputs ng mga magagaling nating mga speakers, kay Sir JJ Moreno, kay Sir JL Pimentel, and Sir Arnel Banyas, ay siguradong matatanggap kaagad kayo sa iyong trabaho. Maraming salamat po sa ating masipag na Congressman, Regent Attorney Ron Salo, for initiating this webinar. To our very inspiring speakers po. And maraming salamat po sa inyong mga tips at mga na-share ninyo sa ating mga graduating students. Muli, magandang hapon po at maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. Keep safe everyone. God bless us all. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, President Manuel M. Muhi. So, We would like to specifically thank or extend our gratitude to our partner for the success of this webinar, the Commission on Higher Education, the Chevening Alumni of the Philippines Foundation, Office of Congressman Ron P. Salo, the Kabayan Party List Representative, the Department of Education, Tayo Youth Program, the Cebu Normal University, the Eugenio Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, the Cavite State University, the Tarlac State University, to all our student, faculty members, officials who are watching and staying and tuning with us via Facebook and Zoom, a warm thank you to you all. It is my pleasure to be your moderator. I'm Miss Jane Pulma, signing off.